Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking some truly fascinating concepts today that, honestly, they're going to completely change how you look at your daily grind. We're constantly told that the secret to getting ahead is just grinding it out, right? But what if I told you that true success isn't really about raw output? It's not just about how hard you push. It is fundamentally about eliminating the unseen friction that's secretly holding us back. We're going to explore how these hidden barriers, both in our workflows and in our conversations, are quietly taxing our potential and exactly how we can wipe them out.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, the hidden tax on success. Second, fixing your broken systems. Third, calming the emotional storm. Fourth, the power of tone. And fifth, your daily leverage challenge.
All right, kicking things off with part one, the hidden tax on success.
So it's time to address the elephant in the room regarding how we actually work. Most people operate under the assumption that they just need to work harder, right? They wake up earlier, stay up later, they pile more and more onto their to-do lists, but despite all that raw effort, they rarely seem to move much faster. Why is that? Well, because every system either creates momentum or it creates friction. And make no mistake, your business, your current project, even your daily routine, they are all systems. You can pour an infinite amount of hard work into a broken system and it still won't overcome the structural flaws. Hard work literally cannot outcompete a bad system. If you're constantly putting out fires, repeating the exact same simple tasks, or losing track of important messages, you are dealing with a system that is actively generating friction, not momentum.
Which brings us to section 2, fixing your broken systems.
This concept is heavily inspired by some brilliant insights from Josh Kaufman's book, The Personal MBA. I want you to really visualize these two metaphors. First, imagine driving a super powerful sports car. The engine is running at full speed, you've got the accelerator pressed to the floor, but the parking brake is still on. The engine is screaming, the fuel is disappearing, but the car is barely inching forward. And honestly, this is exactly how so many professionals work. Incredibly high effort, painfully low progress. We spend hours writing redundant emails or manually transferring data instead of just automating it. Now look at the second metaphor. Imagine pumping massive volumes of clean water through a giant pipe, but it's full of hidden leaks. Most of the water just escapes long before it gets to the destination. The solution to a leaky pipe isn't to buy a bigger pump and push more water through, right? The solution is to find and fix the leaks. We have to stop trying to outwork a leaky system.
Which brings us to a really vital question. Just pause for a second and ask yourself, where am I wasting energy? You know, we're so conditioned to ask, how can I work more? Or how can I fit more into my day? Instead, you need to identify where unnecessary steps, disorganized processes, and repeated mistakes are acting like this hidden tax on your success. You aren't lacking energy, you are leaking it.
The absolute most successful people out there do not simply work harder, they rely on leverage. They use systems, like checklists, email templates, and software automations to protect and multiply their time. For example, instead of typing out the exact same onboarding email to 10 different clients, they create one flawless template that sends automatically. They do this because they recognize that their greatest asset isn't their effort, it's their time. Smart systems multiply the momentum that your hard work builds, carrying you forward even when you're off the clock.
Okay, now that we've covered mechanical friction, let's shift gears a bit. Section 3, calming the emotional storm.
These insights are inspired by former FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss and his incredible book, Never Split the Difference. He teaches this one fundamental truth. When emotions take over, logic takes a back seat. Think about your own voice for a moment. When the pressure rises in a difficult conversation, most people naturally start speaking faster, louder, and sharper. We kind of mistakenly believe that speaking with more force will make people agree with us. But the very moment your voice sounds aggressive or stressed, people literally stop listening to your ideas and immediately start protecting themselves. Every difficult conversation is dictated by emotion way before reason ever enters the picture. To really understand how tone dictates the emotional atmosphere, imagine your flight hits severe turbulence. The cabin is violently shaking. If the pilot gets on the intercom and shouts, speaking rapidly and sounding totally panicked, fear spreads instantly through the cabin. Everyone assumes the worst. But if that same pilot gets on the intercom and speaks slowly, clearly, and confidently, something remarkable happens. The passengers actually feel safer. Notice that the turbulence hasn't changed at all. The plane is still bouncing around, but the perception of danger drops significantly. People always take their emotional cues from the person who appears most in control of the situation.
And that leads us perfectly into section 4, the power of tone.
If you want to guide a conversation, you must first guide the emotional atmosphere. Chris Voss famously describes this winning strategy as using the smooth tone of a late-night radio host. I actually want to model this for you right now. As I say this, I am intentionally slowing down my speaking pace. I'm dropping into a steady, relaxed rhythm. Just by changing the cadence of my voice, you can feel the tension in the delivery decrease. This isn't about sounding weak. It's about helping the other person feel safe. It makes them far less defensive and far more willing to listen.
Because ultimately, calm is contagious. The strongest, most effective negotiators in the world rarely ever need to raise their voices. Their calm becomes their absolute strength. Why? Because human beings simply do not cooperate when they feel threatened. They cooperate when they feel understood, respected, and safe. If you master your voice, you completely eliminate that emotional friction from your interactions.
Finally, let's bring it all home with Section 5, your Daily Leverage Challenge.
We've looked at both mechanical and emotional leaks today, so let's tie it all together with some real, actionable steps. First, let's tackle your workflow. Step 1. Find a task you repeat almost every single day that takes at least 15 minutes. Step 2. Ask yourself how you can simplify it, create a checklist for it, automate a part of it, or maybe even stop doing it altogether. Step 3. Remove just one point of friction from that task today. I actually challenged myself to do this recently and decided to make a video on day 17 just to document how crazy the results were. Imagine what happens if you remove one point of friction every single week. Small improvements, repeated consistently, create absolutely extraordinary long-term results.
Next is your Communications Challenge. During your very next important or tense conversation, apply these 3 rules. First, deliberately slow your speaking pace. Second, force yourself to pause for 1 full second before responding. And third, let your sentences end with confidence. What I mean is, let your pitch drop at the end of the sentence instead of pitching up like you're asking a question. If you do this, you're going to notice immediately how quickly the emotional energy in the room begins to settle.
I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought to chew on today. Are you currently running faster with the brakes on? Think about it. Whether it's a lack of automated systems forcing you into repetitive busy work, or a tense tone of voice causing the people around you to put up their defensive walls, where are you leaving the parking brake engaged in your own life and work? Identify that friction, release the brake, and just watch how much faster you move forward. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to put these leverage challenges to the test today. You've got this.